Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing? Hopefully, you're doing well. We will be live in just one moment. We are live, but we'll be ready in just one moment. Just getting everything all set up for our Wellness Wednesday. I hope you guys have had an amazing day. We're in the month of February and we are discussing all things heart health. So wanted to take a few moments just to say thank you all so much for being here. This is Dr. Latoya Wells, Doctor of Nursing Practice, Family Nurse Practitioner with Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. We are here tonight for another Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Latoya Wells. Thank you all so much for being here. We're in the month of February, and February is known as Heart Health Month. I have on my red, burgundy. Couldn't find anything red that I felt like wearing tonight. So this is in the shade of red. So yeah. Anywho, we're gonna get started. So for most of you that know, February is Heart Health Month. It's a time where we raise awareness about cardiovascular health and the importance of maintaining a healthy heart. If you were here last year, we talked about heart health. We kicked off our launch with heart health, and I missed it. I've been so busy this week, seeing patients, taking care of business, that I forgot to post for our 1 year anniversary launch, which was the 5th. So happy 1 year anniversary to Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. I have to put that out there. I don't know how I missed that. But anyhow, so as we continue on with heart health this month or this week, I want to marry the cardiovascular system and the pulmonary system or the lungs because they go hand in hand. And so, with that being said, tonight we're going to talk about the impact of smoking, tobacco, whether it be hookah, vaping, what have you, on the heart. There's not a lot of research right now on hookah and vaping. There's more research that's being done on those two, but they all have an impact on the lungs, which if there's an issue with the lungs, it directly impacts the heart. And so today we're going to delve into the significant impact that smoking has on heart health and shed some light on some startling statistics, right? Because some of the statistics will blow you away. And a friend of mine, a colleague and friend of mine, shared some information with me today. She was attending a in-service on smoking, and a lung specialist was there and gave them some statistics on smoking. And so we'll get into that in just a little bit. But smoking has a direct connection and impact on the lungs. And the lungs and the heart, as I mentioned, are kind of married, as I think of it. Because when one is impacted, it impacts the other and vice versa. So if you ever thought about the word CPR, it's cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And so when you're performing CPR, you are providing the breathing, right? And then you're providing the compressions on the chest to get the heart beating and pumping, or to pump blood throughout that individual system. And so when we look at reasons an individual's heart stops, when someone's heart stops, so does the breathing. And when breathing stops, eventually the heart stops. And so I look at the two as a marriage or a union. And so when we talk about the heart, you can't talk about the heart without necessarily talking about the lungs, the cardiopulmonary system. And there's some statistics that talk about smoking and the impact of smoking on one's heart. Last year, we talked about several things related to the heart. Last year, around this time, is when Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field and had a sudden coronary event, and his heart stopped, and he essentially died on the field and was resuscitated by CPR. He spent quite a bit of time in the hospital and is doing well, made a full recovery. And that in itself is a miracle. It's amazing. All the things were in line for him when that event happened to him. But think about the individuals who don't have all those resources directly available to them. And think about all of the individuals who, since we're talking about smoking and tobacco intake and how it impacts the heart, how many individuals are smokers right now and have been for years and are having issues with their heart and don't think that it's directly connected when in essence it is. Smoking remains a prevalent habit despite worldwide knowledge of how harmful it is. We talked a little bit last year about tobacco smoke and how it can impact your lungs and things of that nature. So we're not going to revisit that, but I will throw that out there that it does impact. And so according to the World Health Organization, around 8 million people die every year due to smoking related illnesses, with a significant amount of those deaths contributed to cardiovascular disease. So the smoking causes damage to the heart, which then causes these deaths in those individuals. Long-term impact of heart health when it comes to smoking, it increases the risk of developing cardiovascular disease. And what do I mean by that? So cardiovascular diseases are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, strokes, congestive heart failure. Those are some of the most common ones. When we talk about research from the American Heart Association, smokers are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop coronary heart disease than non-smokers. Some of the statistics, when we look at information and data from the CDC or the Centers for Disease Control, reports that smoking is the leading cause of cardiovascular diseases, accounting for about 1/3 of all heart disease related deaths. In the United States alone, smoking contributes to approximately 140,000 deaths from heart disease every year. 140,000 deaths every year from heart disease. How many of you have never smoked, but yet you lived in a home with someone who smoked, or you worked with someone who smoked? Then you are, in a sense, smoking, but it's by way of secondhand smoke. And so it is essential to know that it's important to know that secondhand smoke is harmful. I'm sorry, somebody want to call my house number when nobody has a number. We use our cell phones. How many of you use your cell phone instead of your house phone? Anyway, we have it for our security gate. But anyhow, exposure to secondhand smoke increases the risk for developing heart disease by 25 to 30%. And that's according, again, to the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control. There are some benefits when it comes to the cessation of smoking or stopping smoking. And there's been research that talks about it, is that there are immediate changes when an individual who smokes decides to quit smoking, and the impact that it has on the cardiovascular health. And so while there may be some damage to the lungs already from smoking, some of the immediate impacts can be changed when an individual does quit smoking. Within the first few hours of smoking or quitting smoking, the heart rate and the blood pressure begin to drop, and the risk of heart disease decreases. So as a provider, as a nurse practitioner, and the many years that I was a nurse prior to becoming a nurse practitioner, I can remember working in the hospital on the medical surgical units in the PCU, wherever it was that I was working at that time, educating my patients on tobacco cessation. My capstone for my doctorate degree from Loyola University dealt with tobacco cessation and teaching healthcare providers motivational interviewing techniques to then apply to their teaching with their patients to impact the numbers of patients that we educate and then hopefully go on to quit smoking. So it's so important. It's something that I've been doing for years, and it's a passion of mine because I would like to be proactive versus reactive. And many times in healthcare, we are more reactive to a situation than proactive. And so you all know our mission and my why for doing what I do at Wells Legacy Health and Wellness, and how Wells Legacy Health and Wellness was birthed out of my passion and my desire to make sure that my family, my friends, the community have everything that you guys need to be an advocate for yourself and to create that legacy of good health. And when we talk about legacy, look back at your family history. And when I take a moment and I look back at my family history, smoking has always been in the picture for as long as I can remember, from a little girl. And I remember in nursing school, we were talking about secondhand smoke and how that impacts children, particularly those with asthma and certain ethnic groups who are at a higher risk for developing different conditions such as asthma, because they were in homes where either parents or someone in the home smoked. And I said, so essentially we were smoking as children. And when you look at it, yes. So if you're a parent and you have a child in the home or in the car with you, or someone else in the home or in the car with you, those individuals are essentially smoking, and they're not physically picking up a cigarette and smoking, but in a sense they are. I can remember being a little girl and going to the store and wanting to have the cigarettes like my grandma. And so they had the little packs of the candy cigarettes or the bubblegum cigarettes where you would blow the bubblegum ones and the little smoke poofs would come out. And I can remember going to the candy lady or the ice cream truck, would come by and wanting to get those things. I saw the little packs of the candy cigarettes not too long ago at a restaurant that we went to for my daughter's 23rd birthday. And they had those boxes of candy up on the shelf, and it brought back some memories. But yeah, we have to change the narrative. And this is not about smoking, but I want to just kind of drive home that point that smoking does have impacts more so than just the lungs. It impacts our heart. And so quitting smoking, there are some immediate changes that occur when someone decides to quit smoking. Heart Health Month. What other month would we dedicate to quitting any of the things that could cause impacts or negative impacts on our heart? And so I'm taking this moment tonight to talk about smoking. If you are an individual who smokes, there are resources that are available. We want you to have a healthy heart, and we can do all the things. You can eat right, you can exercise, you can do all the stuff, drink the water. But if you are someone who smokes, your heart is being impacted by that. And so we want to talk about some of the programs that are out there on helping individuals to quit smoking. There's Commit to Quit. There's a program here that's called Commit to Quit, which is national. So you can look that up, Commit to Quit, and look at the resources, contact some of the individuals, have that conversation with your healthcare provider. We know they should be monitoring your blood pressure. We know they should be monitoring your heart. And if you are a smoker, we need to be getting some special tests to check your heart out, check your lungs out. You need a CAT scan of your chest if you are a smoker and have not had that, because that kind of gives us a better picture of what's going on in your lungs and then also of the heart. Smoking is a major risk factor for heart disease, as I mentioned, and it contributes to a significant number of deaths each year. We talked about that. I'm here tonight to raise awareness to, if one thing I say tonight can change one life, then I've done my job. I think I said that last week, but I truly think about that. If I can make an impact in one person's life, or something that I say on this live is shared with someone else, then there's a chance that somebody's life can be saved. And with that, then I've done my job. And so with the heart, we talked about the blood pressure. We talked about, last year we talked about the blood pressure. And so what should a blood pressure be, right? Some of the numbers have changed over the years. Originally, we were told that 120/80 was a good blood pressure, and it ranges depending on the individual. I never have a blood pressure of 120/80. My blood pressure is always lower than that, and that's my norm. What some of the literature says, and the American Heart Association now states that, I believe it's 130/90 is the golden rule or standard for blood pressure. Anything above that is considered to be high blood pressure or hypertension. If you have other medical conditions, kidney disease, if you have known issues with your heart, there may be more stringent numbers that your provider wants to keep your blood pressure at. And so you might have some medication that you're on that can help control the blood pressure. I had a conversation with someone recently in regards to, they have high blood pressure and they don't want to take the medication that they've been given because there's side effects to it, because it makes them feel bad, what have you, right? Is there anything that we can do naturally for the blood pressure? Of course, there's many things out that claim to have some impact on the blood pressure. And I'm all about natural and using holistic methods to take care of health problems. And so I'm not bashing anything holistic, because I would prefer to do something holistic or prescribe a holistic regimen for a patient versus throwing a pill at them, right? So let's try the diet, let's try the exercise, let's cut out the salt, the sodium levels, things of that nature. And so there are many different things that can help lower the blood pressure. And what I would say is, do your research and have that conversation with your healthcare provider. If they are not open to discussing some holistic or natural things that are available that can help, then you might want to rethink that healthcare provider, because it's a team, right? You guys are working together on your healthcare. And that's why it's so important for you to be an advocate for yourself, to know what you want, to have done your research, to come with the data, to come with the literature, to say, no, look, this is what I'm finding in literature. This is what research is showing. Can we talk about implementing this? And so going back to the conversation that I had, or the information that was shared with me by a friend of mine, she attended a lecture at Grady Hospital, Grady Health Systems in Atlanta. And this was a lung specialist that came and talked with them today. And I just thought these statistics were like, wow. So one session of hookah use is equivalent to smoking 100 cigarettes. Smoking one large cigar is like smoking a pack of cigarettes. And there's new research in articles that are shown that there's a twofold risk of developing lung cancer with heavy cannabis use. And so when we think about hookah, which has been popular and huge, that's equivalent to smoking 100 cigarettes. One session of hookah. I've never done hookah. I don't even know what the process looks like or involves. I've seen it, but I've not physically been around it when it's been, when someone has used hookah. But I do know you're intaking whatever it is and you're blowing out, but it does go into your lungs or you're inhaling or what have you. That's one session of hookah is equivalent to 100 cigarettes. 100 cigarettes. So they might as well just go buy a whole bunch of cigarettes and sit and smoke them back to back to back. One large cigar is equal to smoking a pack of cigarettes. And individuals who have heavy cannabis use, their risk for lung cancer increases twofold. And we know how common cannabis use is now. We have the vaping and all of that stuff that has been popular over the years. I say all this to say your lungs and your heart are partnered together and one impacts the other. So you can't truly have heart health without having lung health. And you can't have lung health without having heart health. They kind of go together. And I'll keep saying that. So what do we need to do? We already talked about it. And we've talked about this quite a few times. And I'll continue to talk about it. Exercising, 30 minutes of moderate exercising, 5 to 6 times per week. 5 to 6 times per week. And I hear it. Oh, I walk all the time for work. I go up and down the stairs, or I get this many steps in a day. That's your routine. And it's not increasing your heart rate. We want the heart rate to be increased where you're at least breaking a little bit of sweat. Some people don't sweat, and that's okay. But you can tell the difference of when you're just having a leisurely walk versus when you're really putting in some moderate work. You are having a hard time holding a conversation or singing. And how I know I'm really putting in some work when I'm out walking in my neighborhood is if I can sing, then I'm really not working my heart. But if it's a struggle for me to sing while I'm doing this power walk, then I know I'm doing the work or I'm not breathing properly, one or the other. But chances are, if I'm able to sing, then I'm really not putting in a good cardiovascular exercise. Watching what we're eating. So the low salt, the low sodium, low fat, high fiber foods, increasing the veggies, decreasing the starches and the fatty meats. So lean cuts of meat. We talked about last year when we were talking about the diabetic diet, the My Plate Planner, which talks about how your plate should be set up. And that's just not for diabetics. That's also for heart health. That's also just good eating habits. About half of that plate should be veggies. A quarter of the plate should be lean protein, and the protein should be able to fit in the palm of your hand. My hand size may be different from yours. So the protein that I may be able to eat may be different in terms of size for what you might be able to eat, depending on the palm of your hand. And then carbohydrates, which whether it's rice or pasta, what have you, another quarter of your food, of the plate. We talked about diet. We talked about exercise. We talked about quitting smoking, right? Sodium intake. Be mindful of the sodium that you take in, and each individual is different. And so like for me, my body does not process sodium like everybody else. So I have to have a little more sodium. So anytime I feel that, I start craving Gatorade. And whenever I start craving Gatorade, then I know my sodium levels are low and I need to increase the sodium that I'm eating. But everybody is different. But you have to monitor sodium. Sodium levels increase the blood pressure. It causes the heart to have to work more when your blood pressure is increasing, and it causes you to retain water. And so if you have the excess fluid on board, your heart is working harder to deal with all that extra fluid. What else? if you are an individual who's on blood pressure medication, make sure you're taking the medication the way it is prescribed. One thing and one caveat I want to put out there: Black and brown individuals typically can have a adverse effect to lisinopril, which is an ACE inhibitor, and that's called angioedema. It's where they have swelling of the lung and throat, which can of the tongue and throat, or internal swelling that can cause some major complications. And it can also cause a cough, which is like a dry cough, and that's called the ACE cough because lisinopril is considered to be an ACE inhibitor. I'm not telling you to stop taking the medication if that's something your healthcare provider has prescribed for you. I am telling you that if you are starting to have those symptoms, a cough, have a conversation with your primary care provider or your healthcare provider. If you start to notice swelling in your tongue, in your lips, in your throat, of course, I want you to stop that medication. You're going to call 911, get some assistance, get to the hospital as soon as you can, because you could be developing angioedema. It does not necessarily happen during the first use. Someone could be on lisinopril for years and never develop angioedema, but then all of a sudden they start to develop a little swelling here, or their throat becomes a little itchy. Seek help. Make sure you get some help. We're winding down, and I just want to make sure that you all are taking care of yourself. If you have a loved one that is a smoker and they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, let's join together. Let's band together to make sure that we are healthy. As we continue with Heart Health Month, we'll have some other topics. If there's anything in particular that you would like to discuss, send me that information in a DM me, drop it in the comment section, and we'll do some research and make sure that we can bring that information back to you all. We are open in our building. We're located in Altamont Springs, Florida, 452 Osceola Street, Suite 106, Altamont Springs, Florida. Our phone number is 321-306-6755. Check out our website, wellslegacyhealth.com. You can send us an email at info@wellslegacyhealth.com if you have any questions or concerns. We'll be uploading some blogs, some information on the website that you can follow along, some upcoming events that we'll be participating in, some of the specials that we'll be having. We are now offering medical weight loss and some other things that are coming as well. So thank you all so much for being here tonight and each and every Wednesday. Happy 1 year anniversary to Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. I'm excited, and I'm trying to figure out, how did I miss that? But anyhow, take care of yourself. Stay safe. Be well. This is Dr. Latoya Wells. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Have a great evening. Bye.